Welcome to the New Peak Podcast, the show for high achievers and leaders who want to sustain performance under pressure. Here's your host, coach and author of Burnout Be Gone, Nicola McCrabbe.
Welcome. And today I'm joined by Kimberly
Lyall.
Wonderful. Kimberly is a leadership consultant. She also is an educator, creator of the Solutionary Leadership Framework to help us lead through difficult moments. Welcome to the New Peak, Kimberly.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this conversation.
Is there anything I left out in the introduction?
Just that I'm also a keynote speaker, and honestly, I think sometimes we put too many titles on what we do. My goal is like yours. It's to help leaders be at their best and achieve the things that matter.
Love that. So most leaders that we're dealing with right now are experiencing setbacks, change, uncertainty, tariffs, everything. And so the question that many of us don't ask is, how do you lead under that pressure and help other people so that they don't get weighed down with it as well? Can you start by telling us a time, Kimberly, when you had to lead through crisis or pressure?
Yes, the story I'm probably most known for, and that is a bit of my founder story, is that when I was at 26, I became a CEO.
Wow.
But at 28, 2 years into this role, just when I felt like I was getting my feet under me, just when I was starting to achieve the goals I'd set out for myself, I uncovered a major fraud in our organization. So our finance manager had been forging my signature. She was a very sophisticated con. And overnight, my world changed. I discovered that we were, in all essence, bankrupt. None of our creditors had been paid. Staff, payroll, I couldn't make payroll. And then to make matters worse, 3 weeks later, as the police were investigating, they were ready to make their arrests. The individual who stole the money made the decision to die by suicide. So here I am, 28 years old. I'd gone through business school, but there's no course on, here's what to do when this happens.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's almost surreal to talk about it now because I remember just standing there thinking, I'm responsible for this organization. I have a team who is traumatized. I have a board of directors who are also traumatized. It was horrific for someone to lose their life over this, and that was the overwhelming essence in my mind.
Yeah.
But in terms of how to rebuild afterwards, there was a number of people who were very upset that there was no justice, right? There was no opportunity to go to trial. There was no opportunity to find out why. Why did this happen? Why did you do this? Is there any money to recover? We later discovered that this individual had a significant gambling problem, so there was no money.
Okay.
And, here we are. What do you do next? And so I did figure it out. It was really hard. It was very painful, but it was also very illuminating. And it really helped me understand that when we're in moments of intense crisis, the things that matter become very clear very quickly.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
what a story to start off with, Kimberly, huh? And that's, at 26, 28 years old. First of all, to become a CEO at 26, and then to have that experience at 28,
Yeah.
such a life-changing um, trauma, like you mentioned.
Yes. And I think I'd like to note at this point for you and for your listeners, Nicola, is that up until that point, I was a very driven individual. I'd come from circumstances where I just felt this need to prove myself and be a leader. And I believed deeply, and I still do, that leaders make a difference in the world. And
Mm.
so I had worked really hard and I'd done all the right things.
You're the
And
high performer, Kimberly. Like most of our
yes,
listeners, you're the high performer that has proven yourself working extremely hard. First of all, like, how were you operating during this? What do you think others seen, first of all?
story. I mean, that same day, the TV cameras were there asking me what my thoughts were.
Wow, that's hard to put all those thoughts together in such a crisis moment.
Well, it is. And again, I leaned into the truth and the vulnerability of it all. How
Mhm.
tragic it was that someone made a decision that ended in them losing their life, right? For me, that was the story,
Yeah.
and that was the tragedy. So, but it was after that again, what do we do? And honestly, Nicola, it's crazy when I think about it now. The very next morning, I was on a committee with the Chamber of Commerce at the time for the Business of the Year Awards, and they were meeting at 7:30 in the morning, and I was there.
Wow.
I said to my staff, we've got to show up. We've got to have the community believe that we're still capable of running this business and recovering. So business as usual.
Business
Which,
as usual. So, how did
yes,
you reconcile all of that with what other people needed from you and the business award? And what was just, let's step back,
yeah,
what was going on inside your head? Like you said that you did want this to be, you want to be upfront with your
mhm,
community, you wanted to be trustworthy, you didn't want to hide things.
yes,
But as that like a high performer, there's a lot going on there. You're not maybe going to achieve your outcomes, and there's a little bit of uncertainty and anxiety. Was there
yeah.
any of that, or what was happening?
It was, but the overriding
Mm-hmm.
feeling driving me was I have to fix this. I have
Okay.
to fix this, right? And I mean, obviously you can't fix a death, but the buck stops here. I am the CEO of this organization. I have to fix this.
So you were like,
Yes.
you're the face of the organization. You have to do something about it.
And this happened on my watch. So even though it wasn't my fault,
Mm-hmm.
if staff were struggling, okay, what can I do to support you?
Mm-hmm.
I will take that on. My board of directors really struggled. I will take on the leadership of that. It just in every term, I felt like I'm the responsible one. The buck stops here, so I need to
Wow.
step up and make space for everybody.
That must have been a lot for a 20-year-old. That's a lot of responsibility.
It was, and I've always struggled with this part of it because I was
Mm-hmm.
very successful. Within 4 years, we had rebuilt the organization better than it had ever
Amazing.
been.
Amazing.
Yeah, had amazing outcomes, but at a tremendous personal cost,
Okay.
right? I ended up with post-traumatic stress disorder. I became very sick, and it's still something to this day that I'm very aware of. We can only take on so much before it's too much,
Yeah. Wow.
right?
What a story. I'm curious, Kimberly, when
Mhm.
did you recognize that? At what point did you recognize or have a chance to reflect and go, maybe I took on a bit too much?
Oh my goodness. It took years. It really did.
Years. Yeah.
Because, and I think many of your listeners will understand this, when you're, again, forest and trees, right? When you're in the thick of it, all you
Mm,
can think is, here's the pressure points that
mm,
have to be dealt with.
yeah.
Like there's no time to take care of me. There's no time to reflect on, is it too much? This is do or die. And I hate to say that, but for the organization, I mean, we were literally in a place, Nicola, where a month afterwards, I said to my board, I'm not sure we should try to open our doors again. And we had to get clarity around why would we? Like, why does our organization exist in the first place?
Yes.
Is there a need to guide that work? And from that
Yes.
point on, everything became clear, Nicola. Every decision we made was held up against that statement.
Wow.
And we got rid of old programs that we had done that were no longer serving the need. We found opportunities that we didn't realize existed. And it was like being on a train that just kept picking up speed, going faster and faster and faster with success. Once you've got that momentum, everybody understands why they're here. It's exciting.
Mm.
It just made all of the difference. Yeah,
So, in some ways, such a tragic story, but it helped your company to kind of get back to a place of meaning, purpose, and some actual direction. Well, it
absolutely.
sounds like you were there for everybody, creditors, for your team, and you were the responsible one. When did you start to realize that, wow, that was a lot?
It was about 16 months after the incident happened, we were finally starting to really be solid again. I had done such a good job of managing the notoriety and the information about this. We
Okay.
had 1 day of press when the story first leaked, and we had 1 day of press when the death was announced. That was it. And so people in my industry didn't even know we'd been through it.
Wow.
And and this is important because I'll tell you why it's important. It did help us rebuild the trust because you didn't think of us and you thought fraud. You thought of us and you
Mhm.
thought tourism, which is what we did. Um, but that 16-month period, I just started to feel off. I was
Mhm.
suddenly feeling anxious all the time, and I didn't understand that's what anxiety was.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. I never felt steady. And I'd been asked to speak at a tourism conference about what happens when things go wrong. There was
Ah,
someone who knew that we'd been through this, and I drove up and I felt so awful, Nicola. I felt like I had the worst flu possible, but I didn't dare let them down. And I got into that room and I started to tell the story. And it was like I'd had everything in a closet with the door firmly shut.
mm,
And telling the story, I opened the closet door and it all just fell on top of me. Suddenly I was crying and I couldn't stop. Nobody in the room knew. Nobody
wow.
knew this had happened. And so the utter horror and shock that they were expressing as I was telling the story was just magnifying for me how
Wow.
awful this had actually been.
So you're kind of experiencing it again in a whole new way, and other people there are listening to you at the same time, reliving the story.
Yes, yes. And that's when I suddenly, I don't know what you would call it as a technical
Mhm.
term, but when I couldn't stop crying, my husband drove me home. And I took, I think, 6 months of,
Mhm.
I might have worked 3 hours a week
Okay.
and just had to completely walk away
Mhm.
and start to
So,
process the trauma.
so it all came to a head.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Some of
Burnout for
the,
sure.
yeah,
Probably
some
some
of
other
the
things too.
internal things that were happening at the time, you had to push away because you just had to deal with stuff.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I'm thinking for our leaders right now under pressure,
Mhm,
maybe they have to figure things out by tomorrow. Um, maybe there's no more time. Um, Things are on the line, like you have things on the line, payroll on the line, people on the line. What
mhm.
do you say to them right now? No, and I'm throwing you a big question, Kimberly. Yeah.
There's a lot I would want to say, but I think, again, number one, clarity. Like what's actually important. And we have this way of saying it's all important, and it probably is.
Mm,
But is it 100% important? Is it 80% important? Is it 50% important?
yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
What is really, again, I don't want to say do or die because I've been through a die situation,
Yeah.
but what is, your staff getting paid on time? Yeah, that's important,
Hmm.
right? Is it a project with a partnership where there was a deadline
Hmm.
and you feel like I need 2 more days to do the job that this deserves? Well,
Yeah.
could you call the partner and say that? Right?
Yes.
None of us want to admit that we didn't make schedule or that we aren't carrying the load as well as we'd like to. But you know what? Everybody else is also in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think we need permission to be a little more honest about,
Mhm.
okay, if my values in my company are that I deliver quality work and the timeline is such that for whatever reason, I need these 2 extra days,
Mhm.
have the conversation. Don't assume that it's an automatic no, right? Have the conversation and see if
Okay.
it's possible, right? So
Mhm.
it's recognizing, what where there's no negotiation room and what is 100% important versus different levels.
Okay, so there's no black or white, and it's looking at the
No,
gray areas, having conversations, not making assumptions, seeing where the wiggle room
absolutely.
is. And what about yourself? Like, is there another way
Mhm.
than getting to the 16-month period and going, wow, how did I get through this? And now, like, I'm actually starting to unwind, and my body is processed, my mind is processed it, and
Yes.
something's not working. Like, is
Yes.
there a way to allow that to happen at the time or
Mhm.
shortly afterwards? Like, how do we process that as a leader?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Unfortunately, I had a situation where when I realized, okay, I can't stop crying,
Mm-hmm.
I'd gone to a doctor and the advice I got immediately, I don't want to say it was bad advice, but it wasn't great. It was, let's just numb this with some medication.
Yeah, the usual.
And yes, yes. And it scared me. And
Yeah.
it scared the people around me to
Mm.
say, no, 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 this isn't a numbing situation. This is it, right? So I think I know, when everything happened, the day that the death occurred, victim services came in. The police called victim services and they came in and they did some counseling with myself and the team right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it was so helpful. And if I ever had to live that situation over again, which I pray to God I do not. Um, Having a therapist beside me right away through
Okay.
that whole 16-month period. Yes, because it is too much. It's too
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
right? And we have to acknowledge that.
Mm.
So getting those supports in place early and
Yeah.
not being ashamed of them and not being afraid to
Yes.
access them, that's
Yes.
what I would say.
That's really helpful, Kimberly. 28. You're not much older now, Kimberly. And
Oh,
you
you're so
know,
kind.
but the world has changed a little bit since
Yes.
then.
Mhm.
And you did the best that you could during that period, huh?
Yes. Yes. And I appreciate you saying that. And I think, again, we all are just doing the best we can.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, you and I have talked about how
Mm.
leaders are under such pressure right now.
Yeah.
And it's difficult when the external world, whether it's tariffs, whether it's
Mm.
politics, all the things you've named,
Yeah.
um, so much that we don't have control over,
Yeah.
right? Like there's so many leaders have this voice inside their head that shoulds them all the time. I should have done this. I should do
Yes.
this,
I
right?
should be better. I should be better. I
Yes,
should know better.
right. And
Yeah.
you know what? You will do better when you know better, but right now you're doing the best you can with what you've got. And it's a very difficult environment to lead in.
Yeah.
And not only are you dealing with all these challenges, but everyone on your team is dealing with these challenges as well.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to cut ourselves some slack. Take
Hmm.
that step back, take a moment, take a breath, have some conversations with people.
Yeah.
We don't have to sit in the hallway crying and hugging, but we could certainly acknowledge that it's tough. And how do we stay focused on what we're here to do, but also take care of ourselves while we're doing it?
Yeah. There's a little bit of what I would call that unconditional acceptance. Being there for yourself regardless of how things work out.
Yes.
Having your own
Yes.
back. And
Yes.
when you do that first, it's easier then to think about what's the priority now, well, how do we need to change, what do we need to do differently.
Hmm.
But a little bit of time for yourself first, making sure
Yes.
you're okay.
Yes. Because if you get taken out, what happens to the work,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, Kimberly. Is there something you would like to leave our leaders with? Leaders that are, and I know we just talked about it, but anything else? Leaders that are under pressure right now, trying to look after your team.
Yes, probably the number one advice I give to leaders, maybe not the number one, but it's up there, is
Mhm.
to turn toward the discomfort rather than
Okay.
away from it.
Okay.
And this matters because the area that is uncomfortable, we call it a problem or we
Yeah.
call it a challenge, but there's something there that is either not aligning with your purpose, not aligning with your values, not
Mm.
working the way it could.
Yeah.
And our instinct is to say, that's one more problem I don't want to deal with. But honestly, the longer you try to push away from the discomfort, the bigger it gets and the harder it gets.
Yeah.
If you can train yourself to, when you feel the discomfort, when you sense it, either in yourself or someone in your
Mm.
team, to say, you know what, this is just information.
Yeah.
Let's see what's actually going on here. It takes that weight off of your shoulders because now you know what you're dealing with and you can make some decisions about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like that. So, because I love the saying, take the weight off your shoulders. Because you don't realize you're carrying that weight, huh? But there is a lot of discomfort happening, no matter if it is something, getting underneath it.
Yes, getting underneath it. And here's the thing. Again, you listed, tariffs and politics and all these things that are happening to people
Yeah.
right now that are outside of our control.
Mm.
We're carrying the weight of them.
Hmm.
So if we're asking ourselves, okay, why is this causing upset or anxiety? Your
Mm.
initial answer will be, well, because it's threatening the business.
Hmm.
And then we say, why is it threatening the business? And we start asking more questions. And
Mm.
honestly, usually after you ask why 4 or 5 times,
Five whys.
the five whys,
Get to the bottom
yes,
of it. What is
you
really
will
important to you? Why does it matter to you?
exactly, you will
Mhm.
discover whether again it's the value mismatch or as leaders, again, this fear of
Yes.
failing, this fear
Yes.
of letting people down, this fear of losing your reputation,
Hmm.
which is hard to see. But once you understand that that's what at the root of it, you can say, okay, now that I know that,
Yeah.
what can I do about it?
Yeah.
Or can I just tell myself, you know what? That's actually not something I need to worry about right now. I
Yeah.
give myself permission to be a little nervous about it, but
Hmm.
I don't have to worry about it every day. Either
Yeah.
way, you can go forward with, again, less weight on your shoulders.
That's really good. And I use the 5 why quite a bit in my coaching, trying to get to the bottom of things.
Yes.
Um, because it's a story you're telling yourself, huh?
Yes, you nailed it. You
And
nailed
it's
it.
not about the situation, it's what is the narrative for you in that situation, which, just as you said, that's data and it helps you move forward.
Absolutely. Just one
Mhm.
last thing on that point. I
Mhm.
I mentor a number of leaders that I'm working with their organizations,
Yeah.
and I see this trend where they're making assumptions about their team or their colleagues or their boss and feeling like, oh, I know this person is stressed, therefore what can I do to alleviate it?
Yeah.
And I've said to them, have you actually had the conversation with that person? Are
Mhm.
they actually stressed?
Yes.
And they look
Yes.
surprised and they're like, oh, because again, you're making an assumption that may or may not be true, and you're creating this weight on your own shoulders that you
Mm.
shouldn't be carrying.
Whew,
It's
the
right.
weight on my shoulders. Yes. So
Yes.
check your assumptions.
Yes. Check your assumptions.
Hmm.
And why don't we do this? Because it's a hard conversation to have often. So lean into that discomfort. If it
Mm.
feels uncomfortable, it's a sign there's opportunity there to make it better. So just do it. Just do it. You're not going to be perfect. Nobody is. Nobody
Yeah,
cares.
totally.
Just
We're all a
just
work
be
in
honest.
progress. So I'm
Yes.
hearing be honest with yourself, get
Yes.
underneath it,
Yes.
and be honest with other people. Be curious. So have those
Yes.
conversations with yourself and with other people.
Be curious, Nicola. I love that. That's
Be,
that's the key. Just be curious.
be
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This will be so helpful to our leaders. I just feel like this has been such an honest conversation. And what an amazing story, but there was real honesty in it.
Thank
And for people that are struggling out there right now or under pressure, I think this will be a great episode to listen to Kimberly. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll see you again,
I can't wait.
listeners.
Absolutely. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you listening to the New Peak podcast. If you want help sustaining performing under pressure without burnout, head over to nicolamccrabbe.com and chat to Nicola.